You didn't misjudge them. You didn't miss the signs. You didn't accidentally trust the wrong person. You saw everything, and your mind still protected them. That's the part most people refuse to face. You feel it in your jaw. Your tongue presses against the roof of your mouth. Your thumb hovers before you type something softer than what you meant. That sensation is not confusion. It's cognitive dissonance, not as an idea, as a loyalty reflex. Your brain does not exist to protect truth. It exists to preserve the first strategy that ever kept you safe. Even if that strategy is now destroying your leverage, even if it is training people to step on you, even if it is turning you into background noise. You think your mind is your ally. It isn't. It is an archivist. It stores what once worked, and it keeps running it, long after it stops serving you. Here's where it gets dangerous. Somewhere early in life, you learned a silent equation. If I tolerate, if I adapt, if I smooth things over, if I make myself easy, I remain included. Inclusion felt like oxygen, so your nervous system carved a rule into muscle memory. Protect the source of belonging, not the source of respect, not the source of growth. Belonging. That rule never got updated. So now, when someone disrespects you, your mind doesn't ask, is this accurate? It asks, will confronting this threaten connection? If the answer is yes, your mind edits reality. They didn't mean it. They're under stress. They had good intentions. That's just how they are. Not because it's true. Because explanation feels safer than confrontation. Because explanation feels safer than loss. Because explanation feels safer than standing alone. This is not morality. This is not kindness. This is pattern preservation. Cognitive dissonance isn't a thinking error. It's a self-defense reflex. Here's what that means. Your mind doesn't ask, what is true? It asks, what keeps me safe? If truth threatens safety, truth gets edited, not debated, not examined. Edited. That's cognitive dissonance, not confusion, self-protection. Here's where it gets dangerous. Your reality. They undermine you. They ignore your boundaries. They drain your energy. Your pattern. I survive by being agreeable. These cannot coexist. So the mind sacrifices reality. Not the pattern, never the pattern. The cost is not emotional discomfort. The cost is structural. You lose jurisdiction. You lose leverage. You lose gravity. People do not consciously decide to disrespect you. They sense incoherence. They feel that your internal world is negotiable, and humans instinctively press on anything that feels negotiable. Not out of cruelty, out of calibration. Now, watch this carefully. Your mind protects your enemies. Because you haven't claimed ownership over your inner territory. Jurisdiction means this. Not every thought gets citizenship. Not every interpretation gets a passport. Not every emotional reaction gets to move in. Most people live with open borders. Anything walks in. A look, a tone, a pause, and suddenly their internal world rearranges. That is not awareness. That is occupation. And occupation always serves the occupier. Here's the uncomfortable part. If your inner world has no border control, anyone can rule it. Most people think power is something you display. It isn't. Power is something your nervous system broadcasts before you speak, before you move, before you decide. Your body is constantly sending one of two signals. I am stable, or I am adjustable. Adjustable people get negotiated. Negotiated people get pressed. Pressed people start explaining. This is the invisible cascade. No one wakes up and says,
I will disrespect you today. They sense availability. They sense permeability. They sense that pushing you will not be costly. Costless targets get tested. Tested targets get normalized. Normalized targets get used. This is why being nice fails. Not because kindness is wrong, but because uncostly kindness becomes permission. Permission erodes hierarchy. Hierarchy determines treatment. Most people don't decide, they react. Someone frowns, interpretation forms. Someone withdraws, interpretation forms. Someone criticizes, interpretation forms. None of these interpretations were approved. They simply appear. That means your internal world is being governed by external behavior. That is not awareness. That is occupation. And occupation always benefits the occupier. This is what a negotiable frame looks like. Your self-concept bends to accommodate others. Your standards soften to preserve harmony. Your perceptions blur to avoid tension. You call it being understanding. It isn't. It's internal surrender. Now we slow this down, because speed is what keeps it invisible. Stillness interrupts habit. Habit survives on speed. Slow kills habit. When someone does something that feels off, your first impulse is to explain. That impulse is the moment. That is the hinge. Miss it? The old program runs. Catch it. You gain a fraction of sovereignty. Here's the first surgical shift. Do not explain people. Describe behavior. Do not interpret motives. Track patterns. Not, they're insecure, but they interrupt me when I speak. Not, they're afraid of intimacy, but they disappear when accountability appears. Not, they're misunderstood, but they violate agreements. Behavior is concrete. Behavior is unromantic. Behavior does not invite sympathy. Stories invite sympathy. Stories create fog. Fog protects predators. Clarity exposes structure. Now understand something uncomfortable. Your mind is not protecting them. It is protecting you from the sensation of separation. Separation once felt like death, so your body still treats it as death. This is a hijacked nervous system. Old safety beats current truth. That means logic will never fix this. Better thinking will never fix this. Affirmations will never fix this. Because the problem is not belief. The problem is conditioning. Your nervous system doesn't update through insight. It updates through exposure. Repeated exposure. Low drama exposure. Boring exposure. Which means this: one calm no today beats 10 emotional speeches next month. One held silence beats 1,000 mental rehearsals. Here's the hidden cost. Now zoom out. Look at your history. Notice the pattern. You always become the understanding one, the patient one, the bigger person, the flexible one. That isn't random. That is a role you trained people to assign you. Roles become expectations. Expectations become contracts. Unspoken, invisible, but enforced. And the moment you violate a role, people react. Not because you're wrong, but because you broke their mental agreement. This is why boundaries feel out of character to others. Because they are out of character. Your old character. You are installing a new one. New characters always feel unnatural at first. Not because they're wrong, because they're unfamiliar. Familiarity is not truth. Familiarity is habit. Habit is not destiny. Every time you explain, you rehearse your own collapse. That's how biology updates. Every time you explain bad behavior, your body learns, defending keeps me safe. So next time, it explains faster.
Every time you excuse disrespect, your body learns excusing prevents rupture. So next time, it auto-excuses. This is not weakness. This is reinforcement. Reinforcement can be reversed, but only mechanically. So we install a framework. Not motivational, not inspirational. Mechanical. Internal Realignment Protocol. Purpose: transfer loyalty from external figures to internal coherence. Step 1. Intercept. Notice the moment you begin explaining, not later, not after, at the surge. Step 2. Label silently. Defense impulse detected. No analysis, no judgment. Step 3. Swap target from person to behavior. What did they do? Not why did they do it? Step 4. Freeze. 2-second pause. No smoothing, no laughter, no filler. Silence. Step 5. Declare internally. I prioritize pattern accuracy over emotional comfort. This is not a mantra. It is a jurisdiction claim. Step 6. Decide access. More access or less? Not punishment, not revenge. Access. Step 7. Act small. Tiny withdrawal, tiny boundary, tiny non-engagement. No speech, no announcement, just adjustment. Fail. Condition: you start narrating their childhood. That means extraction resumed. Now understand extraction. Extraction looks like this. You leave interactions tired. They leave lighter. You replay conversations. They don't think about it again. You adjust. They expect. That imbalance is extraction. And when you keep explaining people who extract from you, you become their infrastructure. They stand on you. They don't thank infrastructure. They use it. That's the hidden cost. Energy, attention, access, labor, emotional regulation. When you keep explaining people who extract from you, you become the engine that powers their lifestyle. They don't need to improve. They don't need to self-reflect. You are already doing that labor for them. Your mind becomes their PR firm. Your empathy becomes their shield. Your understanding becomes their invisibility cloak. This is why certain people love nice individuals. Nice people metabolize abuse silently. They turn damage into stories, stories into tolerance, tolerance into permanence. Now, here is the part most people resist. Some people in your life are not confused. They are calibrated. They know exactly how far they can go. They discovered your soft spots through testing. A joke here, a late reply there, a small disrespect. They watched what you did. You explained. You smiled. You stayed. Calibration complete. From that moment on, they treat your boundaries as optional. Not because they are evil, because you trained them. This is not an accusation, it is a diagnosis. Diagnosis creates power. Shame creates paralysis. Now we add contrast. Do this. Let behavior disqualify. Not that. Ask for explanations. Do this. Reduce access quietly. Not that. Announce emotional boundaries. Do this. Track patterns. Not that. Collect exceptions. Patterns reveal truth. Exceptions preserve fantasy. Fantasy keeps people stuck. Now we anchor a cold truth. Your enemies do not require hatred. They do not require confrontation. They require non-cooperation. You don't defeat extraction. You starve it. Starvation looks boring. No reaction. No explanation. No performance. Just absence of fuel. This is why silent people feel heavy. Not because they are mystical, not because they are dominant, because nothing leaks. No nervous disclosure, no compulsive justification, no emotional spillage. They feel sealed. Sealed containers create pressure. Pressure creates gravity. Gravity creates status. Status is not popularity. Status is not being liked. Status is being treated carefully. That is the real marker. Now we insert 3 tactical scripts. Use sparingly. Scarcity increases impact. I've noted the pattern. That doesn't work for me. I'm adjusting access. Say it flat. No edge, no heat, no explanation after. Silence is the period at the end of the sentence. Now we address the internal objection forming in your chest. This feels cold. This feels selfish. This feels like I'm becoming someone else. Good. That discomfort is identity shedding. You are not becoming cruel. You are becoming coherent. Coherence means what you think, what you feel, what you say, what you do are aligned. Most people suffer because they fragment. They feel one thing, say another, do a third. Fragmentation creates noise. Noise creates hesitation. Hesitation creates weak arrival. Weak arrival invites testing. Testing invites disrespect. Disrespect invites explanation. And the loop closes. The sovereign mindset collapses fragmentation. Sovereign does not mean you dominate others. It means you refuse to be internally governed by their reactions. You are responsible for your conduct, not their comfort. You are responsible for your integrity, not their approval. Crossing this line feels like betrayal. Because you were trained to equate self-loyalty with selfishness. That word was weaponized. Selfish originally meant concerned with self. Somewhere along the way, it was mutated into evil. If you internalize that mutation, you will spend your entire life managing other people's emotions and wondering why no one manages yours. Now we plant a stake. Your mind protects your enemies because you haven't taught it who it belongs to. Reassign loyalty. Internal coherence over emotional comfort. Here's the hidden cost. When you stop protecting your enemies, some people will fade. Not because you became worse, because you became incompatible. They benefited from your softness. Your spine removes their advantage. They will label you cold, arrogant, different. Let them. Labels are cheaper than self-examination. Better arrival wins. One more layer before we move forward. Your loyalty has weight. Whatever you repeatedly defend becomes heavier inside you. Whatever becomes heavier begins to orbit your identity. This is why some people feel hard to let go, not because they are rare, not because they are special, because you have been feeding them psychic mass. Every excuse, every reinterpretation, every silent swallow. Mass, orbit, bond. Break the feeding. The orbit destabilizes. Distance becomes natural. No dramatic endings, no speeches, no closure theater, just gravity correction. This is real power, not confrontation, not domination, calibration. When your internal world becomes non-negotiable, your external world reorganizes automatically. Different people approach. Different conversations form. Different offers appear. Not because you chased, because you stopped leaking. Hold that. We're about to hardwire this at the behavioral level, not as philosophy, as an operating system. Now watch what happens. You already understand the concept. Now we turn it into circuitry. Not inspiration, not awareness, installation. Because awareness without installation becomes self-entertainment. You nod, you agree. You feel sharp for an hour. Then your body runs the old program again. That's not a character flaw. That's nervous system reality. So we move past insight. We move into overwrite. First, we talk about entry. Not what you say, not how you say it, how you arrive. Most people think conversations start when words begin. They don't. They start when your body enters the field. Your posture, your pace, your eye contact, your stillness. Before you speak, people are already forming conclusions. How much friction you tolerate, how easily you bend, how costly you are to push. This is pre-verbal authority. You don't earn it with arguments. You don't earn it with logic. You don't earn it with charisma. You earn it with internal order. Internal order produces slow movement. Slow movement signals control. Control signals safety. Safety creates deference, not admiration. Deference. Admiration is emotional. Deference is structural. Structural beats emotional every time. Now expose a quiet delusion. Most people think they lose arguments because they didn't explain well. Wrong. You lose the argument before the first sentence leaves your mouth. You lose it in your arrival. Because arrival broadcasts your relationship to yourself. If you arrive rushed, apologetic, eager, you communicate, "I need this to go well." Need is debt. Debt lowers status. Low status makes your logic decorative. This is why calm, minimally expressive people win debates with half the vocabulary. Their words are lighter. Their presence is heavier. Weight beats volume. Always. Now we install a correction. The pre-verbal authority stack. Purpose. Ensure your body communicates non-negotiability before language appears. Before we go tactical, understand this. People decide how carefully to treat you before you finish your first sentence. Not consciously, nervously. Here's where it gets dangerous. Once they classify you as low friction, everything you say after becomes decoration. Now we install the stack. Layer 1. Pace reduce movement speed by 15%. Subtle. Hands slower, head slower, steps slower. Not acting. Inhibition. Inhibition is power. Layer 2. Stillness. When someone finishes speaking, half-second pause. Let silence exist. Silence reframes the interaction. It implies evaluation. Evaluation implies rank. Layer 3. Eye contact. Look when you speak. Look when they finish. No over-nodding, no excessive mirroring. Mirroring communicates alignment. Alignment communicates agreement. Agreement communicates low friction. Low friction invites pressure. Layer 4. Breath. Slow exhale before speaking. Internal. Automatic tone stabilization. Fail condition. You feel rushed. That means you're leaking need. Now we layer identity. The sovereign mindset. Sovereign does not mean dominating people. It means refusing to be internally governed by their emotions. Someone is upset, you remain stable. Someone misunderstands, you remain stable. Someone projects, you remain stable. Stability is the asset. Not winning, not convincing, not correcting. Most people are addicted to correction because correction feels like control. It isn't. It's reaction. Reaction hands away the steering wheel. Sovereign mindset reclaims it. You are responsible for your conduct, not their comfort. You are responsible for your clarity, not their agreement. This is where many people panic. They were trained to believe, if others are uncomfortable, I did something wrong. That belief creates permanent self-policing. Self-policing creates softness.
Softness invites extraction. Extraction breeds resentment. Resentment leaks through micro-hostility. Micro-hostility damages reputation. The person becomes difficult, not because they set boundaries, because they set them late. Sovereignty sets them early, quietly, without explanation. Now the deeper mechanism. Your mind protects your enemies, because protection once prevented shame. Shame is social pain. Social pain once equaled death, so your system still treats it as death. That's why your stomach drops when you imagine disappointing someone. That's why your chest tightens when you imagine saying no. Those sensations are not evidence. They are fossils, old alarms. We don't argue with alarms. We retrain them. Retraining happens through exposure, low-stakes exposure, daily. This is where the 7-day protocol comes in. Day 1. Detection, notice, explanation impulses.
Day 2. Pause. Insert 1 second.
Day 3. Replace. 1 explanation to 1 statement. I'm not available for that. That doesn't work. Day 4. Silence. Say nothing after. Day 5. Remove softeners. No, I think. No, maybe. Day 6. Access adjustment. Reduce access once. Day 7. Structural line. We're not aligned on the starting point. Use once. Stop. This protocol is not about aggression. It's about predictability. Predictable people are taken seriously. Unpredictable people are tested. Predictability requires identity, so decide, I am someone who does not explain my boundaries. Now, a subtle trap. You will want to balance firmness with niceness. Smile, add warmth, add humor. That is reaction receipt. You are trying to collect proof they're okay. Stop. You do not need receipts.
If you add warmth after every firm line, you cancel the line. Apology reframes the boundary as negotiable. Negotiable boundaries become suggestions. Suggestions get ignored. Now access. Boundaries are not verbal. They are logistical. Time, energy, attention, responsiveness. Words are decoration. Logistics are reality. This is the access ledger. You don't announce changes. You update them, quietly. If someone drains you, less access. If someone respects you, more access. No speeches, just math. Now the forbidden motive. You like being needed. Being needed once meant, I won't be abandoned, so you tolerate extraction. Sovereignty removes that drug. You become less needed, more respected. You can't have both. Choose. Cold truth. Some people will not survive your coherence. They don't hate you. They hate losing advantage. They were attached to your accessibility, not you. This is filtration, not tragedy. 3 tactical scripts. I'm not debating that premise. That's not a variable. We're not aligned. Use 1. Stop. Now the framework. Loyalty reassignment grid. Identify who you protect. Trace what you fear losing. Name their pattern. Decide, deserves protection? Withdraw 1 unit of access. Observe, what changes? Lock, new internal rule. Fail condition, you explain it to them. Now, first principles. Power is not volume, not dominance, not intimidation.
Power is coherence under pressure. When coherent, you don't convince, you don't posture, you don't prove. Your presence works. This is why some people say very little and rooms reorganize. Not special, integrated.
Nothing inside them is at war. Internal peace creates external gravity. Not appeasement peace, alignment peace. Final truth. You don't need sharper logic. You don't need better arguments. You need better arrival, because the argument was decided before you spoke. We turn philosophy into self-mastery. 3-day experiment. Day 1. Never explain first. Day 2. State. Pause. Day 3. Reframe. Return and comment what changed. Not stories. Data. One final calibration. Stop waiting to feel sovereign. Feeling follows structure. Structure never follows feeling. Every kept micro-boundary deposits self-trust. Self-trust compounds. Compounding becomes identity. Identity becomes posture. Posture becomes presence. Presence becomes outcome. Consistency beats intensity. Release the need for closure. High-leverage people don't get closure. They get adaptation. If someone needs repeated explanation, they are negotiating. Make your frame immovable. Same line, same tone, same posture, different day. They adapt, or they exit. Both are wins. Your mind once protected your enemies because you had no internal king. You are installing one now, not as an idea, as a pattern. Miss a day? Continue. Slip? Continue. Trajectory beats purity. Final anchor. You are not here to be liked, not here to be understood, not here to be chosen. You are here to be coherent. Coherence makes you expensive. Expensive things are treated carefully. That is power. Hold the line.